What a beauty. My Land Cruiser is very hard on diesel, so I'm thinking of making a change. Ah, no, not really. I picked this car up the other day. It's been broken down for the last couple of months, and with a Fiat, it's either the timing belt that's broken or the head gasket that's gone. And being a Cinquecento, it's a pushrod engine, so it doesn't have a timing belt, so I assumed it was the head gasket gone. So when I brought it home, telltale signs straight away: no water in it, rusty stains all around the expansion bottle, and when I started it you could hear the compression coming up through the expansion bottle when you listen to it. So definitely the head gasket. Not a very big job, so that's my next project for the next day, I suppose. Alright, so I don't expect this job to take too long. It's relatively straightforward. So hopefully half an hour, 45 minutes, I'll have that head sitting on the ground. Okay. Okay, so rocker shaft out, just be careful with the push rods. Nice and gently. Okay, so that's the rocker shaft. Okay, so head bolts is the last thing that needs to be done. So unsurprisingly, for such a small engine, they're going to be very small head bolts. So I'll take these head bolts out. So I'll crack them all off first. Okay, she's loose. Okay, there we are. Aluminium head, very light. And that's her. It's up there where I think the head gasket was gone. So just needs a new head gasket. I know it's gone anyway, so I'll have to clean all that up. I'll also have to clean up the head over there before we put it back together. I have my rocker shaft with all the push rods there and everything laid out in the proper order, because it's important to put it back correctly. So other than that, I'll just flush out the coolant system. There is no water in the oil or oil in the water, which is good. So it's a pretty straightforward job. Shouldn't take too long. Right, I won't be a minute. Yep. I didn't have the air filter. Anyhow. That's where Mark works. Okay, so just have to take out all the valve stem oil seals out of the head, because I'm going to replace them with new ones. The engine is about 46,000 miles on it, which is not huge, but while I have the head apart, I'm going to take the opportunity to remove them. So I'll just take them out with a little snips. I always find is the handiest thing to do. Right. And there's all the old seals out. Clean this down with carb cleaner. Grease on the seal, the socket that fits over it and grips the metal part of it. I'm using an 11. Push it on. And pushing down home. Okay, so on this little Fiat I'm going to grind in all the valves as well. They're not particularly bad, but since I have it apart I might as well go and do it. Grind in all the valves again, make sure all those valves are making a good seal against their seats. So first thing to do is just clean off all the soot and stuff off the valves, and doing that using the bench grinder and a wire brush. So just put a little bit of cutting paste. I'm just using fine cutting paste on this because I've no serious problems with it, so there's no point in going with the coarse and then the fine afterwards. The fine straight off will be perfectly adequate. Okay, so I just put the valve into the head. I've cleaned the seat as well, just any kind of excess dirt and stuff that was on it, or grease or anything. Okay, that'll do fine. Now you're supposed to use a grinding stick that has a kind of a sucker pad on it that sticks onto this side of the valve, and you just stick it on there and then you just twist it or roll it in between your fingers. I have a good few of those, but they're all rubbish. You really need to buy a new one every time you do one of these. But there is a technique of doing it with a drill. It's not as good, but it does work fine. Now this is definitely not how you do it in the industry, or how it's supposed to be done, but it's the same principle, and if you're careful with this, there's absolutely no problem doing it this way. However, if you're being an idiot about it, you can absolutely ruin it. So what you're looking for on the valve is, when you look at this section of it here, is that you have a nice even line all the way around, that there's no area where it didn't actually, the paste didn't cut into it. So that one looks grand. There's a nice gas tight ring all around there, and in on the seat I can see that as well there. So it's a good idea to do this. Some of those seals wouldn't be great if they were just left alone. Okay, so I have all the valves ground in and new seals in, so the last part is to put in the valve springs. Okay, so I'm using a spring compressor for that. I'll compress it a bit, is normally what I do, and then wind it in the rest of the way. It's an easier job. You just have to compress it down so you can get the collets in there. So it can be quite a fiddly job. Okay, so once both of the collets are in, let's let the tension off. There we are. Right, the head is back together and ready to go on, and I put the exhaust manifold onto the head because I find it's easier to put it onto the car that way rather than trying to mess with getting all the bolts lined up when you can't see them. So I have the block cleaned down, so stick the head gasket on and just build it back up from there.